Hello, friends and nonprofit leaders. It's me, Laura Zelke, the host of the Your Nonprofit Life podcast. You may have noticed that we've slowed our roll a little bit lately, and I just wanted to say thanks for being such a loyal listener. Today's interview almost didn't happen. We tried multiple times to get together, and each time something came up. But my guest and I were determined to share the story of why dogs deserve a better life than being chained up outdoors 24/7, 365. So we made sure to get this podcast recorded, even when the sound quality wasn't as ideal as we had originally hoped for. My guest today is Sharnette Lewis, the Executive Director of Dogs Deserve Better, a nonprofit organization dedicated to freeing the chained or penned dog, as well as helping the dog who's abused, neglected, homeless, and abandoned. Their goal is to rescue, rehabilitate, and help the dog find a home where they can live indoors with a loving and caring family. Dogs Deserve Better has multiple locations, and their main headquarters is located in Smithfield, Virginia, on the property once owned by Michael Vick. During this interview, Sharnette shares the story of what they've done with the former dogfighting compound and how they've memorialized the dogs who died there. We also talk about how Dogs Deserve Better is working to break through cultural traditions and stereotypes to help people appreciate dogs more as companions than entertainment. Please pay close attention to Sharnette's words, as they are sometimes hard to hear due to background noise. Her message is clear, powerful, and applicable across the sector no matter what your mission is. You'll walk away from this interview understanding why it's so important that we as nonprofit leaders meet people where they are and build relationships with them to spark sustainable change. It really is the genuine relationship between people that creates circumstances conducive to change in behavior, attitude, and expectation. I can't wait for you to meet Sharnette Lewis, a woman who has a heart for all animals and a passion to break the chains of dog abuse and neglect. Let's get started. Hey, have you ever wished you could hear some good news for a change? Well, I might have just what you've been hoping for. Welcome to Your Nonprofit Life, where we remove our rose-colored glasses and explore what leaders are actually doing to move their nonprofits from messy to thriving without burning out in the process. I'm Laura Zelke, Director of Member Experience for the Nonprofit Leadership Lab. Join me each week to explore the ups, downs, and whoopsie daisies of your nonprofit life. Let's get started. Well, Sharnette, welcome to the Your Nonprofit Life podcast. I'm so excited to finally have the opportunity to interview you. It's kind of taken us a few tries to get together. So thank you for making time for me today.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. We did have some hurdles to climb, but we've made it. So happy to hear about your organization.
I tell you, when there's a will, there's a way, right? I mean, we had all kinds of circumstances fighting against us, but we are determined to bring this story to you, our listeners. And Sharnette, I've already given kind of a brief introduction about your organization at the very beginning of the podcast, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about what Dogs Deserve Better does.
So Dogs Deserve Better advocates on behalf of chained dogs who live outside 24/7, and we inform the community and their owners about how it's appropriate. They are subject to inclement weather and things like that of that nature, so they need to learn in the house what it's like to be a companion. We show them the importance of the human-animal bond and the benefits of that on their behalf. So it's not just about the dog having a better life. Having a dog in your life on a 24/7 basis actually improves your mental health, your physical health, and your overall well-being. To explain to that, there are some circumstances where dogs have to be outside, like working dogs. So we make sure the living outside is acceptable. And then what we do is we bring dogs into our sanctuary. So some dogs that are not adoptable, but they need a place to live, we take them in. So occasionally the owners have to relinquish their dogs, and we will take them in. If they are deemed unadoptable for whatever reason, they stay here at our sanctuary, so then they're sanctuary dogs. If they're able to be rehabilitated, and then we will do that, and we will adopt them out.
I think it's really interesting. So do you refer to your organization, like the physical location, as a sanctuary?
We refer to it as a rehabilitation center, but we do have 4 sanctuary dogs now.
Okay. And a sanctuary dog, what you were saying is it's a dog that can't be adopted out, or it can?
Our sanctuary dogs are dogs that can't be adopted out for whatever reason. Maybe their dog's aggressive, so they've been living outside, but they've been getting attacked by other animals and such. So then now they're no longer safe to be adopted into the community. So we take them here because we do have 15 acres of property, so they're not around any other dogs.
Yeah. Okay. So you have 4 of them now. And what are their names?
We've got Biddy, Ralph, Ralphie, and Cinnamon.
Oh, my sister had a dog named Cinnamon for like 20 years. Oh, that's sweet. So let me ask you this. So we're going to come back around and talk about your physical location and how it ties into Michael Vick and the dog fighting scandal that happened back in the early 2000s. But before we get to that, I actually want to get to know you a little bit better. And I was wondering, how did you come into the nonprofit sector to begin with? Like, did you always know you were going to want to work with dogs? I mean, not that you're working with them, but like that you're advocating for dogs. Did you always know that? Or how'd you come into the nonprofit sector?
Well, I always knew I wanted to work with animals ever since my grandmother gave me my first 3 chicks when I was like 4 years old. And then I cried about wanting a dog. My parents said no, and then she came to visit us for the summer and she brought us a Chihuahua.
Wait a minute, say that again. Your parents said no, but grandma bought you a Chihuahua anyway?
Yes.
Go grandma.
She said she should have a dog. So we got the dog. We lived 15 years, and it was the whole time. I was like, I want to work with animals. I wasn't exactly sure in what aspect. So I've worked at shelters and sanctuaries, veterinary hospitals. And I found that although I got a great education of the medical aspect in the veterinary medicine world, I enjoyed shelter and sanctuary medicine more. So I wanted to stay in the nonprofit sector.
So you said you studied veterinary medicine?
I did. So I got a bachelor's degree in biology because I was going to go to vet school. And at that time, I was also studying to be a veterinary technician so I can have the veterinary experience that I needed to be competitive in vet school. And I did get accepted. And then I decided it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to wait for a year. So that year that I was waiting, I went to a farm animal sanctuary, and that was all she wrote.
So you worked at a farm animal sanctuary. Now you're currently in Virginia.
Yes, in Virginia.
And so the farm animal sanctuary that you were at, was that also in Virginia?
No, that was in California. So after I graduated from college, which I did go to college in Virginia at George Mason University, I got an internship at a farm animal sanctuary in Grass Valley, California. So I did that for 3 months. And when that was over, I got a job at another farm animal sanctuary. And I worked there for 3.5 years until I went back to veterinary medicine. So I was like, my mom was like, well.
So you went back to school?
So I went back to veterinary medicine. So I was working as a veterinary technician because I already started that part of the education. So I worked as a veterinary technician for 7 years. And although I enjoyed it, I really wanted to go back to the shelter of medicine. So I volunteered at shelters and other farm animal sanctuaries, and then I came to Dogs Deserve Better.
Yeah. And this is a relatively new job for you, right? At Dogs Deserve Better. You just started, last summer?
Yes. So it's been about 6 months.
Yeah. So what do you think has been your most favorite part of kind of being back in where your heart was? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like, you got the degree, but you were interning doing more of like, I don't know, not so much veterinary medicine as much as just caring for neglected animals or injured animals. And that's really what kind of lit you up as far as your passion goes. So what's it like now? You've been there for 6 or 8 months now. What does it feel like to finally be back doing something where you're actually advocating for the animals and taking care of them and rehabilitating them?
I feel like it's a complete blessing. It's what I've wanted this whole time. And at the time, this opportunity was just extraordinary, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So it's fantastic. I've always, even at the farm animal sanctuaries, although I was doing direct animal care, obviously it's a farm animal sanctuary, so we always had to advocate for the animals, both when we had tours and off-site at events. So it seems to me as if I was building up to this without even knowing it.
Isn't that the way it goes, though? It's like, it seems like in life, everything that we do kind of prepares us for that next thing. And I so wish that I would have known that at a younger age. I think I would have complained a lot less. Not that other people heard me complain, but God did a lot. I mean, I'm just saying, like I was a very frustrated person going through all the things, waiting for where my heart was, right? And that just happened really just in the past few years with the Nonprofit Leadership Lab and sitting there and going, wow, everything I've ever done has prepared me for this. And it sounds like that's kind of the same place you're at right now, where you are a different person than you would have been without those 7 years of the vet tech, for sure. You have a different perspective than you would have. So you've kind of journeyed from both sides of it, and now you're able to pull it all together in this new position that you're in, right?
Yes, that's correct. I was also the complainer because I was, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. Of course, that's not how life works. And now that I'm in the position that I've always wanted, I was like, oh, I guess this is how life works.
Right?
It's not how you imagined it.
Yeah, you have it all planned out. And then it's like, yeah, God looks at the plans and says, okay, that's nice. And then, your life goes kind of in the other way. And here you are, and it all worked out. It's just really exciting to see that. And I wish the listeners could see the smile on your face, because you're kind of glowing when you talk about that you're doing what you've always wanted to do. And Dogs Deserve Better is really lucky to have you to work with them. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about kind of getting into more of the details of just the history of the organization, the Michael Vick connection, what all you guys do and what your focus is.
Dogs Deserve Better was founded in 2002, actually in Pennsylvania, not Virginia. And what the primary focus was on is the legislation. So they would go to the legislature to make sure that the laws changed. They would do a few rescues, but they were foster-based or home-based, so they didn't have an actual center. And then in 2011, the Michael Vick property came up for auction. So they did a huge fundraiser because they were like, this is a golden opportunity. And they got this property that we are in Virginia. So from 2011 on, it has been the rehabilitation center. And that's why we have our sanctuary dogs, and that's why we do our rehabilitation, and we do more adoptions. We still have other organizations in other cities, our branches. They are foster-based, and we also still have foster homes, so we can take in more dogs than this home would allow. But the reason this property was so important is because, for people who don't know, and back in 2007, Michael Vick and his accomplices were charged with animal abuse. All of them went to prison. We still have the sheds in the backyard. I'm actually looking at them now. Up where they were dogfighting, so they had an infirmary. They had one where they would have them chained downstairs. The sheds are all black. The windows are blacked out, and they were in small. And then upper unit of the shed is where they actually did the dogfighting. If they lost, they would drown them or shoot them, and they would bury them in the back. In 2007, when the whistle was blown, animal control came out. There were 51 dogs still on their property. Usually, in a dogfighting case, they euthanize all the dogs. This time, both Dogs Deserve Better and several other organizations advocated for them to have a second chance. So all of them were saved. 22 of them were deemed unadoptable, but they were still saved. They just went to a different rescue, and they lived out their lives there. The other ones were rehabilitated and adopted out. The last one died 2 years ago, and they brought her back here, and she's buried in our field, and we have trees for all 51 animals that were saved. So we have redwood trees and the red dogwood trees in the back for each and every one of them in dedication to them. So when our dogs here get to go out and run in our field, that memory is there. So they get to witness that this is now a happy place.
Wow, that's like almost making me cry. So I did a little research in preparation for this, and I'm a huge fan of the NFL. And so I remember Michael Vick, and I remember the story about him going to prison for the dog fighting. I don't know that I ever really knew all the details of it. And he did end up going to prison. Like you said, him and his accomplices, right? They all went to prison. And I think it's really interesting that kind of in the same way that he got a second chance, the dogs got a second chance too at life. Like they weren't all euthanized, that there was some advocacy. And that probably speaks a lot because at that point, you guys have been around for 9 years doing legislative advocacy for dogs anyway, right? And I love the fact that you have dogwood trees planted in honor of each of the 51. And I don't know, it just feels like something so important. So thinking about Michael Vick and hearing his story, for him, according to the interview that I saw, he saw his first dog fight at age 8. And it just was part of childhood. And so I'm curious, like, he's not the only kid who ever was exposed to something like a dog fight. What do you do with that? Because I'm guessing it wasn't like a one-time incident, back when Michael Vick was 8 years old and there was this dog fight. It happens all the time. Kids are exposed to this. How do you handle something like that where maybe is there an age of accountability where a kid is supposed to all of a sudden go, wow, I've been seeing this, but I think it might be wrong? How do you help kids or people make that transition to recognize that maybe something that they saw is actually really wrong?
So the earlier you start, the better, because you don't want it to get to a point where now it's normalized, because then you now have to break away from this idea that it's a cultural identity or that it's tradition, which is not. It's just what you think is a normal behavior. So what we do here at Dogs Deserve Better and several other organizations, I'm sure, is that we try to educate children at a younger age. So we start in elementary schools, teaching them about dog behavior, what it's like to be around dogs, how fun it is. We'll bring puppies, we'll bring adult dogs if they're an appropriate size. We do mostly have pit bulls, so we do bring larger dogs, the dogs that are deemed more dangerous in society's eyes, so they can see that's not true. So they have a counter appearance to it. So that's what really helps, is saying, okay, well, I did see this dog fight, and I heard that these dogs are dangerous. But when I went to school today, there was this really cute pit bull puppy. She looked me in my face, and I really loved this dog. So it can't always be true. So that's how we start. For older adults who maybe missed that education, we try to meet them where they are. So we still bring the dogs out and let them see what it means to be a dog. We'll focus hard on the human-animal bond part of it, because so many people are realizing that when I have this animal, it actually lowers my heart rate. I feel more calm, so I don't have to be anxious. I don't have to be angry. Or if I'm going to go for a walk, I don't really want to go for a walk, but if I walk with this dog, so I have volunteers do, you want to take one of our dogs for a walk? Well, I feel really good when I walk with the dog. It gives me a sense of purpose.
Yeah, and I wonder how challenging that is for you to meet people where they are and have to take the time to educate. It seems to me that you would hope that adults and young adults and kids and everybody knows that it's not good to leave your dog outside chained up to a tree 24/7, or, that neglecting the dog or beating the dog is not a good idea. But how do you bring someone who was maybe raised around that? I mean, let's just, talk about imaginary story here, I guess. Or do you have a story that you could tell about someone who maybe grew up and they had a dog outside 24/7? And how do you get them to make that mental shift from that as an adult? Is that easy?
It's not easy. It does take a lot of patience and care. And for myself, because in Smithfield, Virginia, which is where the rehabilitation center is located, there are a lot of individuals who are in that camp. This is how I grew up. This is what we do. I have hunting dogs. If I love them, they can't help us hunt, which is actually not true at all. So, but you can't straight dive into the facts of the situation. You have to be compassionate towards them. So I find it's best to just not come at them with judgment, because they see you with your Dogs Deserve Better shirt or whatever event. They already think you're going to come out with animosity. So if you do the kill them with kindness, now they're already off guard. Now the guard is down. They're like, oh, she's actually a wonderful human being. So then you feel oh, what if you bring your dog in the house to watch Jeopardy with you? Just for 30 minutes, watch Jeopardy. They was oh, they'll come back at our next event. They was the dog was great. I had fun, we had fun. I'm yelling at the TV, dog's barking, trying to answer the questions. I think the dog was trying to answer the questions. And you just change your life experience like that, a little bit at a time. Oh, it's really raining. How about you just put them in the garage? Super cold. I'll give you a blanket just today. And then that becomes a normal life experience.
Yeah, it's like baby steps, right?
Yes.
I think what you're sharing is really powerful. And I want to just camp on it for a minute, because what you're talking about is meeting people where they are and not coming straight at them with the facts. because when people have their shield up, they're not going to listen. They're not going to learn. And I think that's powerful, whether you're running an animal shelter or you're running a homeless shelter or you're trying to stop human trafficking. Really, any kind of advocacy work that you're doing, if you hit people with the facts who are not quite ready to take it in, it's wasted effort. And so it sounds to me like you're focusing more on building a relationship with the person, building the relationship with the human. And then through your relationship with a human, you're giving them just little baby steps that they can do to start taking better care of their dogs.
Yes, that's correct. Because although I love animals and I'm all about all dogs, that's not where everyone is. You can't be me just like I can't be you. So people are going, I assume always, that people are doing the best they can. So if you go in it with the mindset that they're doing the best that they can do, help them out in any way they can, even if the conversation is like not about the dog at all. You saw at the grocery store, they needed $5. They couldn't get that one box of cereal. Get the box of cereal, now you're opening a dialogue so then you can continue with your mission for these animals.
Yeah, I love what you said, that you try to be generous in your assumptions. So it's one of my life goals. I don't think I'm doing it in every single episode, but I really try to mention Brene Brown in every episode because I just find the things that she's taught so impactful in leadership, especially in the nonprofit world and just in life in general. But one of her principles is generosity, and that is you extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, words, and actions of others. And that's what you're talking about. You are looking at them not as this horrible person who's mistreating their animal, but you're saying, I'm looking at this as a person who maybe doesn't have the information they need and they're doing the best they can. So how can I build a relationship with that person? And then through that relationship, help them take better care of their animals and see the world a little bit differently. I think that's really powerful, Sharnette. I wonder if there's anything that you wanted to share today that I haven't asked you about.
In that vein of meeting people where they are and helping fostering a relationship, we do at Dogs Deserve Better have a lot of human aid. So we have our community fence building. So you want to have your dog, obviously the dog needs to be outside at least sometimes because even the smallest dog likes to play outside on occasion. Maybe you don't have the setup for that, or you can't afford to have a proper setup. We're willing to help you do that. We always want the dog and the human to stay together because we do, me definitely, and Dogs Deserve Better as an organization, really believes in the human-animal bond. So if we can keep them together, that is our first line of defense. Our first line of defense is not to have them relinquish the animal to us. So we do also have our hero fund. So if you find out, oh, my dog has a fractured leg and I can't afford it, I don't want to give them up, but I can't afford the surgery to repair the leg, we also help with that. So we always meet people where they are and try to keep them, the animal and the person, together.
And that's really important. And then I think at the very beginning, you even mentioned that if a situation arrives that a person can't keep their animal, well, we're talking about dogs. So you would take the dog in and then help find it another home. Is that right?
That is correct. So they do realize, because we have also taken in some hoarding cases, or they have some accidental pregnancies they weren't expecting, and the mother's about to have like 9 or 10 puppies, and they can't financially afford that. We will take those animals in, rehabilitate them, especially if they have been living outside this entire time, because they need to get used to a home environment, which is another reason why a house was the best place for a rehabilitation center, because now they know what a kitchen looks like, they know what the living room is, they've been in bedrooms, and then we will adopt them out to other individuals.
And so it's part of your rehabilitation center. You really have quite a large property there. So you have a big house and you also have acreage, right?
Yes, that is correct. So we have a large house, so they're able to go into all the different rooms and understand what a house is, going up and down the stairs.
And I remember in our pre-interview, you mentioned something about exposing the dogs to the sound of a vacuum cleaner, because they've probably never been around that. And I was thinking, well, dang, my dog's been around a vacuum cleaner her whole life and she still barks at that thing.
You can't always keep them from being reactive, but you don't want them the first time to hear a vacuum cleaner is now they're in a stranger's home. It's like, this is their forever home, but they don't know that yet. They just got here and like they've been here 2 days. They've gone from being outside.
Right.
They're very accustomed to traffic. So you think the noise is not the problem. Then you get in the house and it's like, what is this noisy thing with lights going off and sucking up all the dirt I just put on the floor? We do have that, and then we do have acres so they can get out and run, because again, these dogs are used to being outside. That's the life they knew, but we get to see what the differences are being chained in a small area or in a small pen to now running 15 acres. Every time we take in a dog after, they've had their medical and they've had their first health evaluation and all that, and if they are deemed healthy, because we do have, it's just Virginia, so sometimes they have heartworm disease, so they're not allowed to go. But as soon as they're healthy, one of the first things they do is they get to go out to the field and run. So we always video. We call them the freedom run. This is the first time they've been able to just be free, run as fast and as far as they can, obviously within our perimeter, and they come back. It's always a delight to see because they're always so very excited. Even my own dog, who I did get from my shelter, but she wasn't on the chain. She was just on the street for 3 months. The first time she went, she just took off like a rocket.
I just think that sounds so cool. And so you call it the freedom run?
Yes.
Just like, there you go, buddy, go knock yourself out. I wonder, do you have those up on YouTube or something that we could get that for the show notes page and share one of those freedom run videos?
I can get them. I have them because we share it usually to Facebook and to our Instagram, but I have several.
Yeah, so we could get it just to share that. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's like you're taking the dogs and kind of retraining them how to be dogs again and to be a companion. Really inspirational when I think about it. So what do you all have coming up? I mean, it's been a pandemic. We're starting to see signs of coming out of it finally. How do you raise your money and how do you do it? And you said you had a number of locations in Virginia, right? Are you just in Virginia or are you in a larger area than that?
So we have 3 other branches in Virginia. So we have one in Central Virginia, and then one on the Eastern Shore, and then one in like the western edge of Virginia. Then we also have 2 in North Carolina and 1 in Tennessee.
Wow. And so the Michael Vick story, the hook on that is just really for the location that you're at in Smithfield. And are you kind of the headquarters for the whole thing? And are you looking at expanding? So you're Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee. So we all kind of our states touch each other. Are you looking at expanding even further?
Yes. So we are the headquarters. This is the main. And then we realized that obviously all the dogs we wanted to save cannot come here. So that's why we have the branches. So they're involved in their local communities, building a relationship with those individuals. Because again, like I said, it's important to build a relationship, and you can't do that from one place. So you do have to spread out. So we are going to expand now to the Northeast because they have a different situation. So in Connecticut, we're going to expand a branch in Connecticut where some of our animals down here, where we're a lot of smaller animals like the Chihuahuas and the Pit Bulls are here, but that's not what they have in Connecticut, and that's what their desire is, especially the smaller dogs. That's what the desire is. So we're going to hope to expand our adoption to the Northeast and then do some community building there as well.
Wow, that's quite a big jump to go from Virginia all the way up to Connecticut. What's the tie there?
The tie is one of our canine managers, one of our board members. They are from Connecticut, so they already know the environment. So that's why we chose that as we wanted to expand to the Northeast, to get some of the animals out of the South and further up for the North. And because we already had ties with those 2 individuals, that's why we picked that state.
Okay. And so you're going to have a branch up in Connecticut, and then that's really kind of your hub for the Northeast. Then you can kind of expand out from there as well to the other neighboring states. Well, it's really exciting. So what do you have coming up this year for Dogs Deserve Better?
So we just wrapped up our Have a Heart for Chained Dogs, where we send Valentine's to owners who have their dogs living outside so they understand the meaning in a cute way, that they should bring it in. So just wrapped it up. So now we're going to be doing a I'm a Chain Breaker 5K fun run. It's coming up next month in March. This is people a virtual fun run so they can go out and they can have their cool I'm a Chain Breaker shirt to get the dialogue going in their personal neighborhoods.
I love that. So it's a virtual 5K?
Yes.
But you're calling it Chain Breaker?
Yes.
I love that. That is some smart marketing right there, I have to say. I love that. Let's see. So you just did a Valentine's campaign and now you're working on a virtual 5K. Do you ever feel like people are having compassion fatigue or they get burned out of donating all the time? Like, how do you address that if you're just going from fundraiser to fundraiser?
So what we do is we try to break it up. We also let people know they don't have to be involved in everything that we're doing. Just if you find this particular thing fun and inspirational, something you want to get involved with, then do that. I want to have several options. Obviously, everybody's not able to do a 5K run. So we want you to feel like you're a part of our organization and get involved. The same thing with our caretakers and anybody in the animal shelter world. It doesn't always go your way, especially when it pertains to dogs and other animals. So I want you to find something that you enjoy doing. So that's why we always have these options. Find something you enjoy doing, you sane and calm and just enjoyable to participate as a donor, a supporter, enjoyable to participate as an employee or a volunteer.
It sounds like you have a lot of options for people. So maybe it's not so much going from fundraiser to fundraiser, but as much as you're kind of going back and forth between education and fundraising. The Valentine's campaign isn't necessarily a fundraiser as much as it is education. And it sounded like you're on all the different social media platforms. And so do you find that you can bring people in who maybe wouldn't do a 5K, but they'll share your social media posts about bringing your dog in for the night for Valentine's Day, like that kind of thing?
Yes, that's how it is. So everybody are not able to participate in everything, but we do want as many people who want to be involved in our organization. So we'll have posters they can share, like the Valentine's thing. There are some teachers who are struggling with getting their kids engaged now that they've been virtual for so long. So this is like a fun option we can give to them. People who do like to exercise and are already out, now they have like this cool t-shirt they can wear while they're running. We'll have different read to your dog video chats. So people will do just anything they want to get involved with. We have Instagram, we have our Instagram stories, we have Facebook, obviously. We'll have Twitter, so every now and we'll put a tweet on. We also share other information that other people can share. So it's like just a fun meme about what it's like living with a dog, like having dog hair on you.
Right. Which, we got a new car, new to us back in December, and we took our dog over to my mother-in-law's house in the car, and dog hair all over me. And I was like, I think this is because she was kind of having a hard time adjusting to it. And I was like, oh, this is her first time in this vehicle. Like she hadn't been in here before, but in the process, dog hair everywhere. I was always a cat person. If I'm just going to be honest and transparent here, I had cats growing up. We had a dog, but it wasn't mine. I had cats. And we got our son a dog when he was about 7 years old. It was a puppy from one of my sister's dogs. Cinnamon is the mom. And anyway, she's been with us for, since she was born in December 2006. And here we are, February 2021. And it's just kind of getting to that point where she's starting to lose her eyesight and hearing. And, it's a whole different thing. And she kind of changed my heart toward dogs a lot, just to have that relationship. Well, tell me, Sharnette, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and your organization? And how would they go about donating if they're interested, or maybe even participating in the Break the Chains? Did you say you get a t-shirt if you do the virtual 5K?
Yes, you do.
Cool. So how do people find you and get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with us is on our website, which is dogsdeservebetter, all spelled out, .org. And then we have all the information about our different campaigns. You can see our dogs that are available for adoption. You can see just cute pictures and stories about our sanctuary dogs living their best life here in Smithfield. You can also reach us on Facebook. So just type in Dogs Deserve Better on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's Dogs Deserve Better with an underscore between each. So it's Dogs_Better.
Got it. What I'll do is I'll put all the links on the show notes page so that it's really easy for people to find you. And we'll put a link to that Break the Chains 5K donate page or something. And I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing your story with me today and with the listeners about not only the work that you're doing, but your heart for meeting people where they are. I think that's something that every nonprofit leader can take away from this conversation. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in the passion for the mission that we want people to change faster than they can. That happens a lot, not just with dogs, but with the mission, right? That we are so passionate about it. We're just like, why can't you see this? Why can't you just change right now? But it does take time. And the best way to do it is through that relationship that you establish, however you do it, whether it's through social media or in the classroom or just building a relationship with someone at the grocery store. And it's all in service of the mission and moving that mission forward. So I just want to thank you again for your time today, Sharnette, and I will see you in the village.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. To access the show notes or share feedback on this podcast and link over to our socials, visit our website at yournonprofitlife.com. That's yournonprofitlife.com. And hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you're going to love The Village. It's our exclusive online community where we take what we're learning in the Nonprofit Leadership Lab and apply it. We take it to the next level with live Q&As, boot camps, online book clubs, and legit support from experts committed to helping you extend your nonprofit life. By the way, since we're just getting started, it would mean the world to us if you'd subscribe to the podcast and leave a great review on iTunes. The reviews will help us get the podcast in front of more people as we try to take the whole sector from messy to thriving. See you next time.